When's an E&L not an E&L? When it's a Palco Delta, and we're going to talk all about it in this episode of Airsoftology Reviews. So on my hands, I have the new Palco Delta Series. Now, it's their new AK lineup. And if you guys are looking at it, you're going, well, Jonathan, it looks an awful lot like an E&L. And actually, you'd be mostly right. It's actually made by Meister Arms, a division of E&L, and it's kind of like an E&L version 1.5. We're going to talk about what's different between the first edition E&L, the new versions, which are version 2 at the time of this review, and then what's in the 1.5, what you get, and the few little pieces you might not get between it and the next one up. So the Palco Delta Series is actually a very affordable upgraded AK series for a premium offering. And if you guys are familiar with what Meister Arms and E&L do, it's all steel built. In fact, the factory that these are made in is actually a real AK factory. So you're getting this thing comes down the assembly line where real AKs come out. So you know the external build quality is off the charts. So steel tip to toe where the parts matter. The receiver, the dust cover, all that stuff is actually full steel. Not some pop metal, not some junk. This one actually has these Zydeco style rails here in the front, the top and the bottom portion. On the short, like the 74U style, these are made of aluminum. So you do have all of that. Under that, there's a little polymer piece here just to kind of, you do have to have that to cover the gas tube, but they went with the black polymer one to finish that out. Now again, you're looking at this going, well, you said 74U, but I don't know of a Romanian stock style. That's right. Most of the offerings in this family under their Delta series are kind of their own design. They're very unique, especially the ones with the rails. They wanted to set that apart from the rest of the AKs out there. So most of these don't exist in the real world as a standing gun. So this one's kind of like a 74U, like I said, with that Romanian stock, which is actually hard to track down with the E&L or a lot of companies out there not doing it. The biggest problem with the stock, and we're going to start with the stock and kind of work our way forwards, is the Romanian stock is known to wobble quite a bit when you actually have it fully extended. This one, however, is absolutely rock solid. I mean, I got this thing in, I'm like, oh great, Romanian stock, it's going to be terrible and wobbly and all that. No. This thing is built like a tank. It's unbelievable. There is no play in it at all. The button, when it locks into position, is very positive. You have to press it and lock it all the way back around. It snaps back into place, stays perfectly. Does have that little rubber pad, so you're not getting that metal-to-metal smack on there, so everything's nice and cushioned. I mean, all in all, by far, very impressed with how they implemented the Romanian stock on this AK build. Moving on down the receiver, you get the standard 74U stuff, the flip-up sights, you have the 2 apertures, which in airsoft, let's face it, doesn't matter. Like I did talk about those rails here on the front, you get a top, a bottom, a left side, and a right side, so you got enough accessories to put on whatever you want, including a little foregrip here. You do get the big US compliant orange tip on the front, which does sting, but no worries, you can swap it out. Standard AK threads under here, so just get you a standard AK flash hider, should be totally good to go. And the metal sight post. Again, the post in the front and all these other parts are all made of steel. My favorite part about the U, the dust cover doesn't come off. I mean, I know that sounds so simple. If you guys have owned AKs and you've been trying to get this dust cover back on, the one's not hinged like this on a standard AK, you know it's a nightmare. It can be so tough to get it. I love the fact that this one's hinged. It makes it so much easier for battery changes and having to get that thing back on. Also, if you do, for whatever reason, bump this little button in the back on accident when you're out there playing, you don't have a dust cover on the ground you're trying to pick up. This one just kind of flips up. You just grab it, smack it back down in place, and you are good to go. Rounding out the receiver, you have a sling attachment point here on the back. Probably one of the few brands I would actually trust. This guy back here in the back is actually riveted into the actual Romanian stock catch point there, and then another matching one here in the front that you can connect to, so you still can run that sling. In the box, you do get a little mid cap in here. I think this is probably the weak point of this gun. While a lot of companies do include very good AK mags, I think the lacking point on this AEG is the quality of the mid cap they give you. It feels kind of soft. In fact, you can kind of squeeze it together. It's really, really lightweight, and feeding is pretty darn good, but not perfect. So if you guys are gonna make the investment in this, I would definitely look at picking up some extra AK mags. GMP brand ones are pretty darn good, or if you get the funds, get the US Palm ones. They're actually really good and fit and feed in this thing fantastic. Finishing up externals, fire selectors where you expect it. What I did like too is the markings are the Romanian markings. Because it wasn't just like the Russian markings in here, you actually get the Romanian fire selector markings because you have a Romanian stock. Very good job, Palco. I gotta give you like 2 total thumbs up on this one to go to that level of detail. Then you get the grip. It's a saw style, very different for an AK, but if you don't like it, you can swap it out, no problem. And then of course, all the other controls where they are. The mag release here, like I said, standard fire selector, all the good stuff, and standard dust cover to hide your hop-up adjustment, which is the standard slide type underneath. All right, under the hood, you get the E&L mech box. Now, the good news is, if you guys know the first gen E&Ls, they were good externally. They're great externally. The internals, kind of lacking. I mean, they weren't the worst, but they needed some assistance. Now, this isn't in Gen 2 where they made every single change. In fact, the Gen 1 to Gen 2 E&L internals are a light year change. The only difference between the Gen 2 and this one is the wiring and the motor. That's it. Those are the only two changes you have to deal with. Everything else is the Gen 2 parts. So you have the upgraded bushings, you have all the, the gear set, you have the piston, you have everything in there under the hood with the new version. Unfortunately, you don't get the high torque motor, but where that's reflected is the price point. These, the Delta Series, sit at least $100 under what the Gen 2 E&L cousins that are out there in the market cost. So the price is unbelievable. And I'll be honest with you, the motor is pretty darn good. I had a chance to run this in a couple skirmishes and play with it. It actually holds up just darn fine. If you really need more torquiness or a higher rate of fire, you can always swap that motor out. It's super simple. It's an AK, it's got a little cage in there, easy to do. But for me, I know some people are touting the new motor. I think all the other changes under the hood make this a very smooth running gun, far smoother than the Gen 1 E&Ls, this being the Meister Arm, the Gen 1.5, and it really, to me, doesn't feel like it's underperforming with that motor in there. Taking this thing to the Chrono, saw a high 300s rating on this, so a little higher if it's a bit above your CQB limits. If you guys are in that 350 range for CQB, don't worry, you've got that quick change spring system and you can swap it out. Or if you guys are outdoor fields, this thing will be perfect for you, no problem. Rate of fire on 11.1 LiPo is nice and healthy too, saw some really good numbers there, so plenty of firepower to keep heads down. Would definitely say if you guys allow it, you swap to the high cap mags, or if you guys are doing the milsim thing, get a bunch of those mid caps and go crazy with it. So guys, if you're looking for a very well-built, I mean, I'm talking the rail system's nice, the body is off the charts. I mean, the build on this thing's insane externally, AK, but you've been holding out because the Gen 2 and even the Gen 1 E&L AKs have been a bit above your budget and you wanted something a little nicer externally than the other AKs in the market, definitely take a look at the Spartan Delta Series from Palco. It checks all the boxes, including a nice, good midpoint price point. It comes in this version AK. You actually have a few different other versions if you guys like more traditional, or a long version with a hybrid wood and rail system that's actually kind of cool. And if you guys want to know more about this one or the other guns in the Delta lineup, I have links to it and the others in the description below so you can check them out.
As always, thanks for tuning in. If you're not currently a subscriber, click on the logo in the bottom right or in the description and you'll always be in the know. Plus, if you like what you saw in this video and want to learn more, I've got a link down there as well. And if you haven't had your airsoft fix just yet, click in the videos on the right or use the info button at the top of the screen for more. And as the saying goes, everyone has an opinion and I do want to hear yours. So give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down on this video, comment, and share.